Hello Exiles, Commander Plater here, back with another Conan Exiles video, and today I'm going to give you a quick guide on how to make a hanging base. This is by no means a fully comprehensive guide, and as usual with base building, you can always add your own personal flair in, and I really do encourage you to try out some different options, apart from what I suggest here. For this guide, I've chosen to build here at the Northern Aqueduct, but there are a large number of other locations that you can do this in. I'm going to leave you to find your own. One thing to consider is though, they must be outside of throwing distance from the nearest floor space, or other exiles will be letting themselves in. The perks of having a hanging base is that you cannot be attacked directly with weapons due to there being no entrance level surfaces surrounding the base. Also, after some testing, the purge will not spawn inside of your base, they'll spawn on top, which means they can't get in or attack any of your stuff. Of course, there are some drawbacks to the hanging base. You do limit your fortification options, your space available to build in can also be limited, and something to bear in mind, you may need a separate thrall taking location and somewhere for your temples. On to getting started. As you can see here, you do need to climb to the top of your chosen structure. Once done, I've put a small scaffold in to allow access to the underside of the bridge. The scaffold needs to have at least 1 story's worth of space, so when you have space to build, you can get going. Now, this won't be staying here for the final design. This is constructed just from tier 1, and I only needed a single foundation to build off of. You also need a handful of pillars and ceiling pieces. The foundation must be aligned as possible to the bridge or the structure you're building off of, and this is not just for aesthetic reasons, this is going to become pretty obvious as we get building. Once the scaffold is in place, you can build out under the bridge. You need to place ceiling tiles out and then place pillars so they meet the terrain. This gives the pillars a support value and will allow you to continue to build out. I recommend you place these periodically to ensure good support. This does bring up another downside of the hanging base though, as if you lose one of your support pillars, you do stand a chance of losing your base and picking up the bits from below. You need to make sure the ceiling tiles don't go wider than the bridge, or when you place up the walls, there'll be a gap or an area for attackers to get a foothold on. If you want to add a second floor, you're going to need to remove one of the central tiles and put stairs reaching down. Some ceiling tiles will be needed to be placed next, following by a support column. This can be removed later on if it's not in the right place. Once you have enough support, you can start placing the ceiling tiles and the columns where you would like. You can remove the initial supports after this, but don't forget, if you get something wrong, you are going to fall to your death. Which, safe to say, is really going to set you back, and again, remember, you don't want your ceiling tiles to be wider than the structure you are building under either. I decided that 3 floors would be enough to fit everything I needed in. After repeating the previous process a couple of times, once you're happy with the number of floors, it's time to choose where the entrance will be and where the elevator is going to start. You're going to need to wall off the rest of the base, all the way to the top, meeting the structure at the top to create a sealed base. The walls will clip through the terrain, so you don't need to be too exact. The entrance will need to be on the lowest floor due to the way the lift snaps. Something you do want to bear in mind is you do not want the lift going into water, otherwise it won't work. Once placed to the ground, you're almost done, and you're going to want to create an enclosure for the bottom of the lift. To line up the lift enclosure, I managed to line this up by building a tower of tier 1 pillars down to the ground and built foundations coming off of it to make sure it completely lines up with the structure above. Your structure at the bottom does not need to be completely impenetrable, it just needs to be strong enough to prevent other exiles from coming in and using it quickly. You should also consider removing the lift into your inventory when logging out to further increase the difficulty of entering the base. Once you have placed the foundations, you're going to need to remove or replace the lift, and then place walls and a door frame around and top with crenulations for a structure where the entrance to the lift is protected, and of course, the amount you want to fortify is completely up to you. Personally, the more the better, but space can be limited. Once all this is done, all that's left is for you to dress your base and fill with crafting stations. There was a ton of room here for crafting stations, including all the decorative planters. You can also configure the space inside however you like, but I certainly don't recommend having any windows, as crafting stations can be stolen from if they're too close. Well, there you go Exiles, a quick guide to building a hanging base. As previously mentioned, there are lots of different locations where you can build a hanging base, and I will leave you to find yours. But do remember, there is no such thing as a raid-proof base, and this can still be godded. Ymir will come straight down over the top and smash the crap out of your base. Once again, thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you get an alert every time I put a new video out. Also, if you are looking to support the channel, please check the video description as there are a couple of ways to do so. Once again, thank you for watching. Commander Plater, out.